Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Star Wars Vintage Collection, Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this new version of the younger rendition of Obi-Wan Kenobi comes to us in the brand new Phantom Menace wave of the Star Wars Vintage Collection from Hasbro. Now, of course, one of my absolute favorite things about the Vintage Collection are the awesome retro card backs that are being used. And it's really cool seeing the prequels get the treatment of the Vintage Collection. So just like on the vintage figures, we've got a nice photo of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi off to the right. And then we've got the Star Wars logo up top with the Phantom Menace in between. Now, the back of the card's got that same really cool retro look going for it. It looks just like some of the vintage figures did, but this time showing us some of the other figures available in the current vintage collection, as well as some of the other vehicles that Hasbro is currently offering. The really cool vintage card backs are one of the absolute best things about this brand new series from Hasbro. Now, one of the other good things about the Vintage Collection is it has been giving us some very nicely articulated and really well sculpted action figures, and some of which have been the new definitive versions of these characters. Now, this particular version of Obi-Wan has been released several times over since Episode 1 first came out. So is this going to be the definitive version of the character? Let's go ahead and take a look and find out for sure. Now, he does include a cloth Jedi robe. For the most part, I do like the cloth robes, but there's no denying that these do sit kind of funny on the figures. It doesn't look too terrible when the hood's down, but when you put the hood up over the figure, it does look big and it just kind of floats there. It doesn't really lay over his head the way you would like it to. Again, this is very common for Star Wars figures that have these cloth tunics, so it's kind of something that Star Wars fans have gotten used to over the years, I'd assume. Now, underneath that cloth robe, we have a sculpted Jedi Tunic. The actual paint job on the figure is pretty good, but it's very basic. Unlike the Anakin Skywalker figure that I looked at before, there doesn't seem to be a lot of extra shading or detail in Obi-Wan's tunic, and I guess it was because they were going for a more clean look, because his outfit was a very clean, brighter white, but it just seems like a little bit of extra something could have been done to help it stand out a little bit. One of the other things on this figure is that he does have that cloth tunic on the lower portion. I am really not a big fan of the figures having the cloth lower portion when the rest of it is made of plastic. He does have a plastic flap that hangs out on the front, which helps with the look aesthetically from viewing him from the front side, but when you turn him around and look at the back, I just really don't like the way that looks. I understand it helps out with the articulation of his legs and is good for sitting him down inside of vehicles, but I just really am not a fan of the way that looks. Now, here's another thing that's kind of strange about this figure. The neck seems a little skinny in comparison to his head. Either that or his head's too big. On top of that, the head sits real loosely on the ball joint on my particular figure. It pops right off with ease. I'm not sure if it's meant to be that way, but it did strike me kind of odd that it fell off so easily when I went to turn the head. Otherwise, you can just pop the head back on, and he does have a nice range of movement going all the way around 360 degrees and a little bit of up and down movement. The shoulders go all the way up and can rotate all the way around. You've got a joint cut up above the elbow, allowing for a twist, and then a regular elbow articulation cut. You've got wrist cut articulation. The waist rocks kind of right above the torso and then also twists. You got a good amount of movement in the legs, and again, that cloth skirt does help him be able to sit down. You've got a twist right above the knee, as well as a regular knee bend. The ankle twists, allowing for left and right movement, and then also has a regular joint, allowing for forward and backward movement. So you do have a pretty good amount of posability in this particular action figure. Now, as far as accessory goes, Obi-Wan only includes two. First of all, we've got the standard lightsaber. A Jedi would not be complete without his lightsaber. The detailing on the hilt is pretty nice. It's silver with some black highlights. And then you've got the translucent blue blade that has got a little bit of a burst down towards the bottom of it. Now, the figure can hold it both single-handedly and also with both hands, but he does kind of have that problem where even when he's holding it two-handed, you can't really get the lightsaber held straight up and down. I tried messing around with it a little bit here and there, and I just really couldn't get a great straight up and down pose out of it. I'm not really sure why, but his articulation does seem to hinder it just a little bit. But you could still get some pretty good poses out of him holding the lightsaber. Now, one thing I thought was kind of odd is that this particular figure does not include just the handle by itself. You can see that there is a little hole in his belt where it looks like you should be able to hang one, but he doesn't have a lightsaber hilt to hang there. The second accessory he includes is his cool little Comlink, which totally brings back flashbacks to that awful Comtech chip device from the Episode 1 toy line. But this way your figure can check the midi-chlorian count of young Padawans like Anakin Skywalker. The thing is a little fat, and it's kind of hard to get him to hold it in his hand, and here's another thing that's strange about it. There's a hole in its back, almost like it's supposed to clip onto his belt somewhere, but there's no peg on his belt to actually hang it. So it's a little strange that he's got a hole for a lightsaber hilt he doesn't have, and then this little comm raider here has a hole in the back, but nowhere to hang it. So all in all, you got a pretty nicely detailed, pretty well articulated Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure. The neck design is a little strange, it's a little too skinny for me, and the choice of accessories could have been better. And I don't think I would necessarily say that this is the definitive version of this particular Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it is still a pretty decent action figure, and he definitely looks really cool in the cards, so this might be a good candidate for a mint-on-card collector. Now, the Star Wars Vintage Collection Phantom Menace Wave is in stores now, but if you want to find it easy, just head on over to www.pastgenerationtoys.com, as they have a wide selection of Star Wars figures in stock. Until next time.